Welcome, everyone. The Sports Writers Podcast. This is our Heat Wave edition this week. We have Phil Stacey, Executive Sports Editor of the Salem News, Nick Giannino, Sports Editor of the Gloucester Times, just back from Dallas, just back from the TD Garden. We'll get to that stuff in a moment. Should we just start with the Celtics? Let's just get this out of the way, Phil and Nick. Let's do a quick note on
today, Nick.
Yeah, let's get it up.
What time did you wake up today?
I slept in. Let's just leave it at that. No, I wasn't back till about 2 a.m. last night, so it was a late one.
We are so Nick was at the Garden on what's today? Tuesday. That's Monday night, obviously, for the championship game, as it turns out. 18th title, first one in 16 years. Nick, take us through that. How much confetti did they have there last night? I mean, what was going on there as we record this on Tuesday?
Quite a bit. It was a scene. It just kept coming. It just kept coming down, and they're probably still cleaning it up on the floor right now. But well-deserved. Yeah, it was a fun night, well-deserved championship for the Celtics. They were the best team all season. Bill, we've talked about it time and time again throughout their run. And they had that lackluster performance in Game 4 on the road, getting blown out, but just no carryover from game to game, right? They came back and they won by double digits last night, kind of jumped out to an early lead. The crowd was going nuts. They really wanted to get it done on their home floor, and they made a statement and finished the job. But yeah, it was a fun night. Matt Williams was there as well. I think, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, but this might be Matt Williams' first championship seen live in person. He's been to a lot of potential closeout games, right, where the Bruins lost, or the Patriots Super Bowl, or Red Sox, or obviously the Celtics losing. So he was pretty stoked to be there. And
he kind of had his fan hat on last night, he was saying.
He did. He had his fan hat on, but he also, wrote some great stories today, recapping the victory. And
yeah, he did.
We're going to have a lot of coverage coming out tomorrow on the Celtics championship. We're going to have more coverage in a special section next week. So be on the lookout for that in all 4 of our papers. But dominant run. I mean, 16-3 in the postseason after 64-18 regular season record. You can say all you want about how easy the competition might have been in the East, but to do it that convincingly, and 2 sweeps and was it 2 sweeps? Yeah, the Pacers. No, just the Pacers one was a sweep, I guess. And then the other one's 4-1 gentleman's sweep. So pretty dominant. They bounced back out with every loss, and it was a complete team effort. I thought Jason Tatum might have got snubbed from Finals MVP a little bit, but Jaylen Brown was great too, and he brought it defensively. So I can see where they might give him the edge with the defensive prowess that he brought. But then Drew Holiday was huge. Derek White was huge. Al Horford came up big at times. Peyton Pritchard, he comes in for 3 seconds and hits a half-court shot at the halftime buzzer to kind of help build momentum. So everyone contributed, and that was kind of the theme all season long with this team. They were a true team. So fun to watch, well-deserved, and we'll see. Maybe it's the start of a little bit of a dynasty here. I'm not ready to jump on that ship just yet, but the league is very talented right now. There's a lot of good players in both the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, and it's not a guarantee they're going to get back here, but they got the monkey off their back. 16 years wiped away, 18th banner, record-breaking performance. Most titles now, breaking the tie with the Lakers, my Lakers, but we'll leave that out of it. So yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
I have to say, and I don't know why my brain went to this spot, but when there was maybe like a minute and a half left, and obviously the game had long been decided by that point, I thought to myself, I wonder if at this moment Ime Udoka was like re-examining some prior life choices he had made. Just like, hey, we all make mistakes. But, this guy had to be watching it like, oh, man, this was my team. And,
I mean, there's no question that if he stayed, I think the result would have been the same. He's a great coach, too. And they might have even won it last year. Missoula's first year at the helm. But at the same time, you got to give Joe Missoula a ton of credit. He really grew this year, and everyone was calling for his job last season, but he made the necessary changes, and the players bought in. I mean, when you get a guy like Al Horford, who's older than Joe Missoula, to buy in, everyone else kind of followed. That was big. I mean, that wasn't a given that he was gonna buy in, that he was gonna pan out, and proved out that he's a pretty good coach after all.
I want to say that I thought Nick did a fantastic job throughout the playoff run. And I should shout out to Paul Bilodeau, our longtime photographer, did some great work both in Boston and when he and Nick went down to Dallas. Of course, Matt Williams went to a couple of the finals games too and did some nice work. So we were really well represented in our company by those three guys, all very knowledgeable basketball guys. And in Paul's case, has an eye for getting great photos on the court. I thought they really enhanced our coverage. I mean, this is not something we do all the time. Obviously, our bread and butter is the local stuff. But when it story is big enough that requires us to step in there and pay a lot of attention to the pro stuff, our guys do a fantastic job, as Nick and Paul really showed. So they really represented our company well, those three guys.
I'm not gonna get on your case, Nick, here about mentioning the dynasty thing, but I will get on. It was Monday night prior to the game, and Duke Castiglione is talking to Doris Burke in one of the pregame shows on Channel 5, and he talks about dynasties. And I'm thinking, when I was a few years ago when I was looking at this stuff, it seemed like you had to win like maybe two titles. And then you could talk about a dynasty, because is a dynasty 2 titles? I didn't think so. I thought it was more than 2. Yeah, 3,
I'd
4,
say at least
right?
3 or 4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like a heat wave, 90 degrees or above for 3 straight days. That's a dynasty.
And it's interesting because every year we don't talk about the champion at the end of the season becoming a dynasty. We weren't looking at
No.
the Nuggets last year and saying, oh, they're going to win 3, 4 more in a row. But something about this team and how dominant they were, I think, and the balance that they have and how young some of the guys are, like this core is going to be together for a while. It's just worth a discussion. I don't think that's set in stone, that they got a lot more to accomplish before they're a dynasty, but they're on the right path.
Well, again, congratulations to them. Obviously, a great achievement and a great season. So on that note, we'll move on and talk about. Let's go to boys lacrosse. Phil, you and I were both at the Prep State Championship game in Burlington on Saturday morning. What a beautiful day that was after the storms on Friday. But Phil, you know lacrosse. I mean, St. John's Prep lacrosse. Covered them so closely the last number of years. This was a game that it was a little closer than I think maybe some people thought it would be. The Needham team was a little pesky, if you will.
Yeah, I never got the sense that St. John's was in dire straits of losing their lead, but they were never able to really deliver that knockout punch that we've become so accustomed to them doing either. They'd get it up to 5 or 6, and then Needham would pop a couple home, but they'd get it up to 5, and Needham would score twice, and they cut it down to 3. So they just kept coming. I think you were with me when Jake Vanna was talking after the game, and he said, we were told, don't let them score in transition. And as it turns out, Needham scored 12 of their 13 goals in transition, and they were very opportunistic. I really like the play of their 2 long poles, those 2 guys going to Division I schools. I think it's Richmond and Notre Dame. Especially was it Curran, number 6 that we kind of grabbed after the game.
Yeah,
he was a special player. He really did a nice job pushing the pace, grabbing ground balls, sprinting upfield, either creating offense on his own or helping to set it up. Having said all that, I mean, the Prep just showed why they're a dynasty. 4 in a row. They haven't lost a postseason game since 2019. They've won 19 straight playoff games. They're just so deep. I mean, it's crazy. Here's a kid, Luke Kelly, junior midfielder, who already has a scholarship to the University of Michigan to continue his career. And he had a good season. He probably had 35 points or so, but on most teams, he'd be an 80-point scorer. At St. John's, they don't need him to be. He just has to fit within the flow of the framework of the offense that day. Well, he breaks open for 5 goals and an assist. Jake Vanna breaks open his final game as an Eagle, 5 goals and assists. Cam McCarthy had 3 goals and 2 assists. Drew Bossy had 3 goals. They just have so much strength. And, let's attack the elephant in the room here. Inevitably, and I make a point to, if you're listening, fine. If you're not, that's fine too. But I almost never, like 99.5% of the time, don't respond to people that email me or send me a message on Twitter or reply, I guess, or X. What are we calling it now? I don't know, X, Twitter, whatever.
X, we can go with X.
Yeah, if they respond to something I write or whatever, I don't. Most of the time, I don't even check it, to be honest with you. But sometimes when I do, there inevitably is, oh, when is the prep going to the ISL? Or this is so unfair, or they have an all-star team, and on and on and on. No matter what you think, and whether that's right or wrong, is really not the point. The point is they're an MIAA school, and they play other MIAA schools, and they play just like all schools do within the framework of the MIAA rules. The MIAA says that they're a Division I school, and teams A, B, C, D, all the way through Z are other Division I schools. So those teams play each other for a chance to win the championship. Yes, it's a parochial school. Yes, they draw from many different communities. Yes, winning begets winning. And if you're a good player, you want to go to a place that has a tradition of winning championships. I mean, this is not new to St. John's Prep. This happens everywhere. I just find it funny that people are continually complaining about the fact that they should be broken up or they shouldn't be allowed to play and this, that. They're playing within the rules. It's, if you got a problem, go to the MIAA. Why would St. John's Prep change something that's not broken? Why would they say, you're right, like we should really move to the independent school league or the prep school league and give ourselves a better challenge? Why would they do that? Things are going on for them right now. They're having a nice little streak. Like anything else, it's cyclical. This will not last forever. Those people that clutch their pearls and, St. John's wins, like, give me a break. Like, was anybody doing this when Longmeadow won 20 state titles in the West, or when Duxbury won whatever it was, 9 out of 10, or Catholic Memorial won all those hockey titles, or Matignon back in the, I mean, no, these things happen. Like, it's cyclical. Nothing lasts forever, and it's just St. John's time, and it's how it is. And it's not like they're winning these games by 15 goals. I mean, they got 6-4 with BC High, 4-goal game with Needham. I mean, they had 2 competitive games in the semifinals and finals. So give me a break with all that stuff. People just like to complain. And this is coming from a public school guy. I went to public school. My wife's a public school teacher. My kids go to public school. So I have no dog in the fight. I'm just saying how I see it. Complaining is useless. Like, why complain? It is what it is. The rules are set. Do the best you can and have fun.
And it's not every sport either. I mean, they got programs right now that are down. I mean, when's the last time the basketball team won a state championship? Or tennis won this year, but when's the last time before this year that tennis won? I mean,
23 years.
What about wrestling? When did wrestling win anything?
Wrestling has been pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. That's a bad
example.
Wrestling, probably their best.
Manny Costa. I'm kidding. Yeah. It's a joke, Manny. Okay.
No, but I mean, in all seriousness, it's like, yes, it's a big school with a lot of boys. They draw a lot of athletic talent. All that is true. Is it necessarily fair, if you want to use air quotes, fair that they're playing a public school that can only draw from one community and next number of boys? Maybe, maybe not, depending on what side of the aisle you're looking on. But if that school is deemed to be a Division I school that plays in the same division, whether it's lacrosse or hockey or football, or they wrestle against them, or they ski against them, or swim, or whatever else, that's how it is. And to be honest, I think it's great when schools want the challenge of playing St. John's Prep. So if you're looking at lacrosse, the Acton Boxborough of the world, the Bill Rickers of the world, the Andovers of the world, the Hinghams of the world. They want to get better. They want to learn from playing, a team like St. John's, which has a great history, a tremendous coaching staff. I mean, take the players and the fact that they come from all these different towns out of it. They have a amazing coaching staff that would have success anywhere. Would it be the same success they have at St. John's? I don't know. That's a what if game. But, when you have terrific athletes, terrific coaches who are willing to put in the work, that's what people always tend to forget. Like, it's not like they just drop out the uniforms and say, oh, we're St. John's, we're going to win. There's a ton of work that goes into this. Nobody just like rolls over for them. Nobody, gives them extra speed or more, they don't have to lift and they can just breeze through things. It doesn't work that way. People tend to forget all those things that go into the success here. So rant over, but it gets on my nerves when people constantly complain about this stuff. I mean, it is what it is.
Well, I'm glad I wouldn't want you to be holding that in over the whole summer, Phil. That's for sure. But,
I don't have a kid at St. John's. I have no connection to the school. I'm just saying, as a neutral observer, complaining is worthless. It's just, it's not going to change anything.
Where people could have a complaint, not about St. John's Prep, but when you talk about champions in lower divisions, it's not as if the Prep is in D3 and doing this. They're in D1. They're at the top. You can't criticize them because they're at the top. However, if you had a dynasty in winning in D4, maybe you can make a case that they should be up a division or down a division. I
think there were people across the state that were thrilled that Catholic Memorial lost last year in the Division II football playoffs.
Right.
Because they don't belong in Division II. They're a Division I team.
Right. And
it's ridiculous they play in Division II.
Right. So there are, yeah, exactly. There's a better example of what I was kind of referring to. Right. Perfect. Yeah.
Or, if say Hamilton Wenham was double the size it is now and was still playing Division IV, say in girls tennis, where they just won their third straight state title, you'd say, geez, you should probably be up a level or two. You shouldn't be playing at Division IV against schools with 125, 150 girls in the whole school kind of thing. So yes, you're right.
But you were talking with Coach Pinchon after the game, Phil, and I was there, and he's a special coach. He's got a special program going there. They've got the great coaching staff. I mean, they do things probably that other schools can't do or don't do. You know what I'm saying? And you were kind of alluding to that. But
yes.
But they're a special program, and and I'm not saying that just because you win 3 titles in D4, you don't belong in D4. I'm not saying that at all either. Because your schools have runs, it happens in all sports, all different times, and then they come back down to the pack, if you will. So, anyways,
and runs are awesome. I mean, we've talked about in this program before, but to use as an example, Marblehead football was down for years and decades. They struggled, and then they've been on a run the last 15 or so years that's been dynastic in its own right. Now they have just the one title, true. So you can't maybe dynasty is not the right word, but they've certainly been dominant in the conference. They've always been a player in the playoffs. Now last year they had quite a down year for them. So is the end of that run coming? It happens for everybody. The Patriots run didn't last forever. Nothing lasts forever. And when people get worked up about stuff, it just from the outside, it's a little bit nuts to me. But
and there are programs that you look at, Phil. You and I have been around a long time, and that me longer. But you're looking these programs. They're not going to win anymore. Like Salem football. They were winning years ago. Then they stopped winning. Now they had a great year last year. Albeit in D4, right? But so what? I mean, that's not a wrong division for them necessarily to be in. But that's where they belong, and that's what they did. And we've seen it other schools. Beverly football hasn't been winning lately, but if they do start to win, I would not be surprised. You know what I'm saying? Right? We wouldn't be surprised because they've won it. They've done it in the past. So, all right, Phil and Nick, let's just quickly touch on the Nick. Maybe you can speak a bit to the Manchester Essex tennis title, the boys tennis title. I know you were in Dallas during all of this time, so I'm putting you on the spot. Or Phil, if you want to start with Hamilton Wenham girls tennis, just a quick note or whatever you can think of, or maybe we've covered them. But
No, Nick, if you want to talk about Manchester Essex, I can talk about Hamilton Wenham and St. John's Prep a little bit.
you're muted, Nick. It looks like here.
I am.
We got it.
Oh, Nick was.
Yeah, Nick. Yeah, Nick.
Okay.
Yeah, Nick's good now.
Yeah, I'll let Phil take the Hamilton Wenham, but just one quick note on them. How about Joe Marr switching over from the boys program after 20 plus years at the helm and on the boys team, and coming over, taking over the girls team when they needed a coach, and winning 3 straight titles. And I didn't cover them this year, but I did last year. And I know, speaking with Matt Williams, who was at the state championship match, kind of a whole different roster for them. They didn't have top singles player Sky Berry from last year. Is Sky Berry? What's her last name? Sky, not Berry. That's a lacrosse player I'm thinking of. Oh God, I can't think of her name now.
Sky Jara.
Sky Jara, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, she wasn't on the team this year, so they had to bump someone else up to first singles. Naomi Provost stayed at 2 singles. They had a new third singles. The doubles teams were shuffled around. So to do that with a different roster and come back and win another title, pretty cool stuff. And I'll let Phil elaborate on that team. But Manchester,
you're exactly right, Nick. I mean, Sienna Gregory, I think, was the only player who had played last season for that title team. She was a senior captain this year, but they rearranged everything. They partnered her with Emily McIntosh at doubles. They found a bond there, like you mentioned. Provost was a standout at number 2. Emma Janney was a sophomore, came in and breezed through first singles all year. Third singles was it Holbrook? I'm forgetting her name, first name Holbrook. Oh geez, what is it? I apologize. I can't remember her name. Ellie Holbrook. I'm sorry, Ellie. And then the other doubles was a pair of seniors who hadn't started a year ago, Maddie Minich and Angelina Matemius. So they go 14-2 in the regular season. They earn the number 1 seed. They blow through the playoffs at 19-2. They've won 15 playoff matches in a row. They're the 11th team, Matt Williams said, in MIA history to win 3 straight girls state tennis championships. They obviously have done it in Division 4. So remarkable accomplishments over there, especially when you consider, and Nick, you know this as well as anybody, they've had to bounce around from court to court in the last few years.
Yeah.
They don't really have a true surface of their own. So they'll play at the Pingree courts, or they've played over at Gordon College and whatnot. I mean, so they've been pretty adaptable and succeeding despite their circumstances. I mean, they were playing this year games at over the Wenham Tea House courts.
Yeah, and they only have 3 courts there, I think. So I think some of the players had to wait just to get out there for their match. And I think
less than ideal, and they're still, excelling.
I think it speaks to the competition in the Cape Ann League. I mean, it's kind of a tennis powerhouse in the state.
Yeah.
I know it's lower. Most of the teams are in lower divisions, 3 and 4. But you had Linfield on the boys and girls side make deep runs. You had Newburyport make deep runs. Obviously, Hamilton Wenham, Manchester Essex. I can.
Ipswich had some good teams.
Who did?
Ipswich had some good
teams. Yep. So very competitive league. And anytime I speak with one of those coaches, they talk about how beneficial that competition is throughout the regular season. It really gets them ready for the playoffs. And it showed with all these deep runs. But yeah, if we jump to Manchester Essex boys, they captured the title in Division 4 as well. And first time in program history for them, first time for longtime head coach Rob Billsbury. He's been with Manchester Essex for 26 years now, coaching boys soccer and boys tennis, had never made a state championship game. They go to the title game. They got to take on top-seeded Linfield, who only had 1 loss all year. Linfield had beaten Hamilton Wenham in the regular season 5-0. So you thought, maybe the run ends here, but they came through. They won 3-2. It all came down to a second singles match with Charlie Verdon, who's been terrific all season. And I believe he won the first set, dropped the second set, and then rallied back to win the third set and give the Hornets the trophy. So what a thrilling match that was. We had a Tyler Rourke intern for us from Endicott College over covering that one, and Joe Prezioso got some great photos from all those matches at the tennis last Saturday. So awesome stuff for Manchester Essex. Well deserved. It was a great run. I covered a lot of them up until those final two matches. You know, the state semifinals and the championship. But again, just an awesome season for them. Rob Billsbury does an excellent job with them, just kind of motivating them and putting them in the right spot when they're maybe down in a match or what have you. So that was awesome. And Manchester Essex girls had a great season as well, getting all the way to the state semifinals, losing to Linfield, go figure, right? Who was a powerhouse in the girls division. So just a great year for Manchester Essex, and really a great year overall for Manchester Essex. You know, you had the boys basketball team have a terrific run in the winter. That was a blast covering them. They made it all the way to was it the state semifinals or the quarterfinals? I can't remember now.
I think they only got to the quarters.
Quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lost by like a point. Had a chance to win it against a really good team. So that was a fun team to watch too. Just an excellent season. And the girls lacrosse team had another great season as well. And the boys, they both made the Elite Eight. So some good stuff coming out of Manchester Essex Regional this season.
Yeah, some of the teams, Bill, that we didn't have win a championship still had great seasons, as Nick mentioned. Ipswich girls lacrosse reached the Division IV state final for the second year in a row. They fell to Cohasset, but not before having a great playoff run. They knocked off top-seeded Weston in the semifinals. They were down 3 goals in the fourth quarter, scored 4 straight to win it. Allison Tivnan has built a real powerhouse over in Tiger Town. Like I said, they've done everything but get that ring. Back-to-back state final appearances, 1 loss season leading into that state final game. Great season for them. Salem High baseball, best season in 34 years for them. They reached the state semifinals, lost by a run to Seekonk. Tremendous run for them. Marblehead softball.
Phil, that Salem team beat Linfield in the semifinals.
In
1-0. The number
quarterfinals.
1 seed. The quarterfinal. Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
The number 1 seed Linfield is where I was going.
Yeah. Marblehead
Sorry to
softball,
interrupt you.
same thing. They reached the semifinals. They lost in heartbreaking fashion in extra innings. So but it was the best season for them in program history under Johnny Gold. In program history, under the direction, I should say, of head coach Johnny Gold. We just had some great across the board performances here.
Peabody girls lacrosse won the league title.
Peabody girls lacrosse had a nice run, right? Softball, I know they wanted to have a nice run. They ran into an unfortunate team that was lower in the standings because of some forfeits they had to take, so they probably ran into them earlier than they should have. So that was unfortunate. I don't want to leave anybody out here, but
Gloucester boys tennis had their best season in probably 2 decades too. Getting to the Division III state quarterfinals.
Yeah, under head coach Derek Erie, right?
Derek Erie, coach of the year there.
Swansea boys lacrosse.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. Winning a season in program history. They won, 20 games? I want to say they finished 20-2.
Yeah.
They upset Linfield, then they upset was it Cohasset, I think, in the round of 8 before falling to Situate in the semifinals. So yeah, the title is obviously the ultimate mark of your season. If you win that final game, that kind of gives you infamy forever. But you can still come up short, but have a great run, and that caps off a great season and hold your head high for that. And I think we had quite a few teams that can say that about what they were able to accomplish this spring locally.
The other school that, the game that comes to mind is that Beverly softball win over Peabody, in the league during the regular season. I get it, but it was the first time they'd beaten them in quite a while. And it was a nice season for Beverly girls softball. And I think, unfortunately, they went out early in the tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
They did, yeah. Same with Beverly girls lacrosse. I think they will both happen to have, longer postseason runs. It didn't work out that way, but it shouldn't deter from
You never know. Yeah.
great seasons they had. Right.
And we had Georgetown baseball up north that got to the state finals. St. Mary's baseball in D3 got to the state finals, lost a close one. So we had some representation in these finals, other teams as well. Plus, you mentioned these Linfield teams; they were well represented as well in the tennises and stuff. Yeah.
Newburyport girls, I think, went to the finals. The girls lacrosse.
Yep.
And they might have lost to, was it Medfield? I want to say.
Sounds right. We
Yeah.
have to check with our guy Kyle Gaudet on that one, but
Yeah,
All
I mean,
right.
we had 9 teams in the state semifinals this year, which I thought was a remarkable amount of teams. I mean, that's pretty good for not a small area, but so if you include the 2 Manchester tennis teams, that's 11 between the Cape Ann and North Shore. So that's pretty good under this new state format.
Yeah, I still like that Salem baseball team. What accomplishments they made this year. That was quite a run for them as well. For as you were mentioned earlier, but that definitely has to stand out. All right, gentlemen. On that note, I guess do you have your duck boat ticket, Nick, or not?
I don't know. I haven't decided on that yet. We'll see. But yeah, that'll be fun. I think the parade's scheduled for Friday.
Yeah. All right.
It's gonna be hot, but I'm sure the fans will still show up.
All right, Phil. Anytime you guys got any beach plans this week here?
Well, what Nick's just said, it literally just jogged my memory. I actually took the commuter rail in to the Celtics parade in '86 as a 17-year-old high school senior to be. And I remember, being at City Hall Plaza, and it was pretty wild. And at the time, I was all about that. Now, you couldn't get me there if you were given $100 bills, but that's another story. That's just my age. But yeah, it was a great time when I was younger. I remember that. I mean, God, that doesn't seem like, what was it, 38 years ago now? It doesn't seem like that, but yeah, it's a good take. When you're young, it's a good take.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although it's funny, I did have the thought, I'm thinking, I might be free. I could go in for that, but I don't think I will. Yeah, I hear you.
No.
All right, gentlemen. We'll talk again soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill Stacy, Nick Giannino here with us on MSONewsports.com, SalemNews.com, and GloucesterTimes.com.